Hello, my friends. Welcome to a shopping day with Kate. Today, what we're doing is I am doing some detail shopping. So I am on this project right now, and we're doing a lot of different areas of the garden, and I'm ordering large quantities of plants that I've selected for this landscape. However, there are certain little items that I know I really do need to hand select. So when you're working with a landscape designer, and you're ordering something like 45 Brunnera or 30 hostas, those are items that I know I can order and source, and I don't need to handpick every single one. However, there are some occasions where I'm going to be really, really particular. So today, we're going to do some particular shopping, and the reason I want to show this to you is because I think this is really valuable information when you are shopping for your own landscape designer. So oftentimes you will look for a landscape designer and you may be looking at their portfolio first. However, I would also encourage you to maybe make a decision based upon personality. Because at the end of the day, when you are going through a landscape renovation project with a designer of your choosing, you are going to work very closely with them, and you're going to need to have a beautiful trust relationship so that when they're out here at the nursery, when they're on a job site, they can advocate for you and they know that they're making the best decisions for you because you have that connection. So let's dive in, because one thing I'm shopping for today is hellebore. The client that I'm working with right now, she loves a good hellebore. And oftentimes at several of my nurseries, they'll carry a lot of tried and true varieties that you'll see at your local nursery. Some of them that are great for like container installations, like the Ice and Roses series is amazing because their blooms are slightly more upright and open and you can see them a little bit better. However, I'm looking for some more specialty ones. I'm looking for multi-petaled. I'm looking for ones that have little speckles in them. And for that, I'm coming to a different wholesale nursery that I like to go to because I think they carry just some spectacular stuff. So I'm going to show you what I have pulled so far and what is really piquing my interest. Okay, friends, I want to show you the ones I'm selecting. I am first going to choose this one. It is called Cherry Blossom. What I love about it is it has just that antique rose kind of beautiful petal. Most of the time it's a single, and it starts with light pink in the middle and it gets deeper and deeper as the petal goes towards the edge. I don't even know if that sounds right. I will pop a picture on the screen. Okay, there are only 4 of these left, and I'm gonna grab every single one. Okay, you guys, I'm freaking out over this next one. This is exactly what I was looking for. And look at this. Eee, gorgeous. This is the North Star Ruby Heart Hellebore. Oh my gosh, look at this thing. Is that not the prettiest hellebore you've ever seen? I actually already have some hellebore that's this deeper Merlot color, but hellebores are great. They're super drought tolerant, hardy down to zone 4. You're really expecting these to get about a foot, foot and a half tall. Just gorgeous. Oh, I was going to see. Oh, it just says long blooming. Hellebores can bloom anywhere from November all the way through March. So what's really fun about getting a variety of them is that you're always going to have something going on. This is a lovely collection of 5, and I'm snagging all of these as well. Rome in red. I don't know that I like this one. This one, Cross Kiss Penny, Diva. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple that I'm not going to get for this client. I want to get them for myself, but I'm not ready to do my shade garden yet. This one is called Apricot Blush. It is so pretty. It is so pretty, but the apricot doesn't go with any of my other colors that I'm doing. And like, I have to stick to the brief. I know she would love this, but it doesn't go with the palette that we're curating, so I got to put it back. Dang it. Okay, this is another one that I am very intrigued by. I also don't know if I'm gonna get this for this client. I would get this for me. It is so fascinating. This one is called Honeymoon Spanish Flare. You never see yellow hellebore. Just like I feel like you never see apricot hellebore. You guys, this is where it's really hard. But again, I go back to my internal voice. I go back to what I know about my client. She would actually really, really love this, but I would have to get the right combination. You know what this needs? This needs something really, really dark to go with it. And there's a nice amount of them here. This actually could be really cool. Okay, I'm gonna think on this one. Okay, I was just looking back at my notes of what I already have collected for this client, and I forgot that I found 2 of a hellebore called Cascade Blush. What I love about it is it's got like kind of, I'll pop up a picture, but it has a singular row of petals, but it almost has like a cluster of little baby petals right in the middle, and it picks up exactly on the throat of the Spanish Flare. So funny enough, I can only find 2 of those, so I think I'm gonna cluster it with 5 of the Spanish Flare. So I have 7 for like a really beautiful sweep in the garden. Okay, I'm gonna pop them in my cart too. Okay. Ooh, super cut back. So I'm gonna get all these loaded in, and then I have already pre-ordered a bunch of stuff. Oh my gosh, we are right up against the deadline of winter, and luckily they have one last shipment from this supplier coming in, and then it's gonna be like 2 or 3 months before they get another one. So I'm gonna go pick up those perennials and load up, and then, oh my gosh, the Stewardias are gonna go in here. They may be resting on my dashboard, unsure. I am so tickled that I was able to get some of these things. So I have some beautiful geranium roseanne. This is a heavy hitter for me. I use it all the time because it just always performs and it blooms forever. Next up, oh my gosh, you know how much I love this. This is my classic Origeron. I use it everywhere. It self-seeds. This is a very floral forward garden with like a splash of like Mediterranean and a splash of like English garden. Anyways, this is another little shocker for me. This is Salvia caradona. You know, I love this. My client loves this. So I was able to snag just a few more of those. And then, okay, so you guys know I trialed this in my garden this year, and I like to do this a lot with plants before I really, it's how I get to know them. This is So White Gara, and really I've only found it in these smaller pots this year. I'm so excited. So I was able to snag a bunch of these, actually about 20 of them. So all of this is gonna go in my truck, and then we're gonna get some trees. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I did order 20. 26 is perfect. What's really fun about being at the wholesale nurseries, kind of amongst my plant people, is I love it when I have a plant pickup next to a friend. This is Jen Zabo, the illustrious Jen Zabo. I love her so much. She is fantastic. If you need a landscape designer, I also recommend Jen. She is wonderful, and she actually is part of the story of how I ended up in this industry. So I'm forever grateful to this woman, forever a fangirl. Next job on the list, so we're gonna pick out some trees. And again, this is like where trust with your landscape designer is so important, because they have to understand the vision. They have to understand what you want. And this is like, I think some of my best gardens have been co-creations. They aren't necessarily where a client is like, do whatever you want, although that is really fun too. But it's where we collaborate on a cool project and make some magic. Now, these trees have to be precise, because it is going to be a little bit of a flanking moment on either side of the pathway that leads up to the front door. What is really cool about shopping for trees this time of year is you get such a beautiful picture of what the structure is actually going to look like. So behind me, we have a Stewardia pseudocamellia. This is one of my favorite trees. It has incredible bark. You can purchase it as a kind of like a singular trunk, or you can purchase it as a multi-trunk. Brian and I are already scheming about where we can fit a multi-trunk on our property, because what's really cool is this is a bark that shape shifts. It's interesting, it's unusual. And I think when you live in a climate where a lot of trees go dormant during the winter, you want your bark game to be dialed. So all that to say, we are here today because I want precise selections. I want to look at the shape of my tree. I want to make sure that the canopy is nice and even. And then I also am looking for this torch shape for on either side of the front door, because I think that's going to be really, really beautiful. I already have the gorgeous canopy of a maple, which is, widespread. And so for me, this torch shape is exactly what I need for this home. So behind me, you are actually going to see one of these torch shapes. This is a smaller tree than we've used along the driveway. This is an 1.75" caliper. And when we talk about caliper, that is literally the measurement right down here at the base. We are in kind of storm season here in the Northwest. And so what you'll see is this is ball and burlap. You can see the fresh string right here, but they've actually stabilized it in these larger cans, because we get really high winds and we'll frequently get storms during the wintertime, which we just had a bomb cyclone. So, that was fun. What I love about this tree, and you can really see it here, this is that torch shape. So it's like a little flame of a candle. But what's really neat about this particular tree is that the branches twist. There's so much movement to this tree, which I think gives it a really dynamic shape when it's even dormant. And I love that you can come in here, and as you follow each branch up, it's got this beautiful serpentine, kind of like water-esque movement to every single branch. It is sculpture in the garden. Okay, this is a insanely mature Stewardia. Look at this gorgeous monster. What is incredible here, and this, as the Stewardia matures, the bark becomes stronger, more interesting, more layered, more textured. As a design kind of side note, if you are in your garden and you are selecting a tree that's going to go in a really prominent location, like say by a front door, or you have say a small city garden and you can really only afford one tree for that space, I want you to go for a tree that is going to hit as many seasons as possible. And they're really hard to find. But a Stewardia pseudocamellia is one of those trees that gives you incredible, incredible dynamic elements in pretty much all 4 seasons. So let's go through it. Spring, you have an adorable white flower. Summer, she's green. She's a beautiful shape. She's lovely. And I don't need her to work as hard in the summer because typically speaking, you've got more florals, you've got grasses, all sorts of other things going on. Fall, this tree kicks off with incredible fall texture. And then we get into winter and look at this bark story. This is sensational. And this will still hold its own in a winter landscape and draw the eye because it gives you such depth and dimension and detail. Bonus points in the winter landscape is when you uplight this because we have, say, our sun here. Our sun in our region is setting at about 4 o'clock. And so if I can uplight this from say 4 until 8 or 9 when I'm, tucking myself into bed and the drapes are closed, we now have added literally hours of interest to every single day. This little 6-footer is one that I secretly am wanting to jump into my van as I drive out of here. This is a 6-foot Stewardia pseudocamellia. So same tree, but I want to bring you down here because this has been grown into a multi-trunk. And here's what is so cool, and this is where you can really see it. Do you see kind of the serpentine movement of every single branch? I mean, even look down here, literally just curvy, curvy, curvy. This is such a sexy tree. She is so stunning. And Brian and I are already talking about like, can we fit one of these in our garden? Where would we put it? And for me, I don't have anything that's this like multi-trunk except for maybe a lilac. But this is an investment tree. So with a Stewardia, this is a high ticket item. This is a more expensive tree because of its rarity, its form, all of that. So let me see if I can find one for you that maybe is going to come in at a lower price point, but you can still play up in all 4 seasons. Okay, I was originally going to show you a coral bark maple, but then I stumbled upon this gorgeous beauty and I've kind of freaked out. This is a paper bark maple. Paper bark maples are, I feel like you don't see them enough. I feel like everyone has seen a coral bark maple. I mean, you can buy them from Costco for Pete's sake. But a paper bark maple, this is again, it's probably a mid-span. It's not as expensive as a Stewardia. It's not as reasonable as a coral bark maple. However, it is a killer in the landscape. So maybe we aren't getting like a big spring moment because it doesn't have a flower, but in the summer, it has a beautiful, beautiful green canopy. It's really robust, really interesting leaf shape. So if I were choosing a paper bark maple, these are the reasons that I would choose it. And this is how it's going to perform in all 4 seasons. Now, if I have a good spring bloom game, I'm not going to worry about getting a flowery tree in on the action because this doesn't have a flower. So it doesn't have that like oomph spring moment. In the summer though, gorgeous canopy, really unusual leaf shape. It's not the common maple leaf that we all think of. However, every single month of the year, it kills it in bark. I mean, and I do mean kills it. Look at this. It is so beautiful. And even when it drops, it's like you get all of these curly cues. Look at this. Look at this absolutely gorgeous bark. It is so textured. It is so interesting. And what's really fun about the paper bark maple is you can play up a myriad of landscapes. So say you have a modern home, paper bark maple. Say you have more like Scandi inspired naturalistic, paper bark maple. Say you have classic English garden, throw some sweet box hedging with this, paper bark maple. So, oh my gosh. And then in my neck of the woods, regionally, this is so culturally appropriate for our environment. And so paper bark maple, this is one to get. This is one to look at. Last but not least, I'm going to sing the praises of a multi-trunk one more time because in the middle of winter, if you uplight this with a beautiful wash, not only are you highlighting the structure, but every single one of these gorgeous flecks of bark is going to just play and dance in that light. I mean, chef's kiss. Love it. Brian is not letting me leave the nursery without showing you the coral barks. And I mean, he's right. They are so stunning. And as you look behind me, look at the myriad of shapes. Each one of these has its own personality. So a coral bark maple, the official term is an acer, and the variety is Sango Kaku. And so I'll put that down here. But as you can see, you have so many different options. Like take this one, for example, really strong trunk shape. And then over here on my left, we start branching super low. And so whenever I use these in the landscape, I figure out how I want this tree to appear, and then I select based on what I'm going for. So if I want like a really strong vase shape and then a gorgeous big canopy, I'm gonna go for something that's gonna have lower branching so I get like max spread, like max impact. If I am, say, doing like a parking strip, because this is rated for certain parking strips in our region, always consult your municipality. Seattle actually has like an approved street tree list, and then you can apply for your permit and blah, blah, blah. Gorgeous. But in a parking strip, I might choose something like this that has a much taller trunk. So I am not impeding people getting out of their doors. I can fill in with some nice lower plantings, all that good stuff. So all that to say, right now, it is like perfect tree shopping weather. Mercedes Sprinter van for the win. I cannot believe these things fit. They aren't even touching the dashboard. I can do more shopping out here. Friends, thank you for coming along on another shopping adventure with me. I so appreciate having you here. I'm going to see you in the next one. And in the meantime, please say hello to your garden for me.